G'day everyone and welcome to another episode of Aussie Tech Security. I think this is episode number 29. How he's doing? It is brought to you by athwebhosting.com.au for your domain and web hosting needs. We offer backup services and whatever you need. We'll keep your website up to date and functioning as best as possible. And also by the Roger. Roger.
You got lost and confused then, didn't you?
I did. I was in two minds whether to say your company, the RNI Consulting, or I was going to say the Business Security Intensive Workshop.
That's whatever.
Yes, but let's say hello to Roger so he can help me out. G'day, Roger. How you going?
Hey, Glenn, how are you?
Good, thanks. Now, the Business Security Intensive Workshop going great guns, and there are still a couple of seats left.
Yes.
It is on Monday, the 24th of the 7th, so that's not too far away depending on when you're listening to the show, so hopefully you can get there before then. It's in Canberra, but good news, Roger's just opened up cross-country sessions. So where's your roadshow going to next?
Well, actually, it's going to Newcastle in 3 weeks' time, but I'm also doing one in Perth on the 30th of October. Hopefully, we'll have a venue very shortly, and we'll start pushing that out to everybody.
All right.
Again, the idea is for doing the one in Canberra just to prove that it works, and then we can actually then tweak it and make it all work. Make it better, make it more entertaining, make it more focused on business and how you protect yourself, and then literally let's take it down the road and go, this is what you need to do.
Yep. Now, is it so that they're all going to be the same? They're all aimed at the owners, managers, and board members?
Yeah, and CEOs, which
Yep.
we had an interesting time with. We've one of the biggest problems we keep running into is most people we've been inviting to these intensives have been either too busy, they've got other things to do, which I can understand, being a business owner and a CEO and a manager and all that sort of stuff, or they don't think it is their problem. And the moment they say that to me, I really get my hackles up because we've seen a large number of organisations who have been compromised and literally have gone to the wall because of what has happened.
Yeah.
The moment someone says, but it's not my problem or it's the IT's job to do that, if you haven't got the support of the manager or the CEO or the owner of the business, then business security is just going to go right out the window. They need to be involved. They need to understand why they're involved as well. That's
right. Now, we'll pick up again very shortly on that. But what email address can people say get on your mailing list for the Perth event?
Just roger.smith@rniconsulting.com.au, and that's Romeo November India consulting.com.au.
All right, so jump on there, get on the mailing list, because I'm sure it's going to be a very intensive security workshop.
Yes, yes.
All right, so just going back to that where you said that you've had the CEO of a company or whatever, and they've said, yeah, that's not my problem, or that's the IT's problem. Now, just cast your mind back only, 48 hours where the Dow Jones was had a security scare and breach, really.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, tell what happened there, Roger. It was on the AWS, on the Amazon, and who will ultimately be held responsible? The techie or the Mr. Jones?
Mr. Jones will be held responsible. You've got to remember, if you're in business and you're in charge of the business, the buck stops with you. And literally, if you have a problem, yes, you can blame everybody else, but eventually it's going to come back to why didn't you know that this was a problem? And that's something that I think we really need to start reinforcing, that if you're in business in today, you have a digital component, and that digital component can be literally 99% of your business. If it gets compromised, it falls over, like we had with British Airways last 3 weeks ago, where it stranded everybody else because they turned off a computer when they shouldn't have.
Yes.
That type of thing is what happens. And can you imagine how much the stock price went down when that happened? How much bad publicity they got because nobody could get on a plane, nobody could book a flight, nobody could do any of those things that they rely on you to be able to do. Now, again, it comes back to, yes, it might have been an IT problem, someone turned it off, but eventually it goes back to the CEO, managers, board of directors, who someone is going to say, but why didn't you know about that?
That's right. And I think the issue with the Dow Jones was they had a lot of their information in an Amazon S3 bucket. and it was just open to the world. It wasn't
Yes.
it wasn't secured at all.
But again, these things are also only found out when you do penetration testing on systems. Because, and one of the things about what our job is when we do a penetration test, we're very, very much hamstrung because they say, oh, you can only do a penetration test on this system at this time because it's not going to impact the business. Sorry, but if a hacker gets in there and compromises your system, your business is going to stop working.
That's right. Yes.
Okay. So whether you want to do it in real time or you want to do it in another time, you still got to remember that if we find something wrong with it and we turn around to you and say, if we do this at 12 o'clock today, how much of an impact is that going to have on your business?
Yeah. And I guess if the impact is substantial, which it would be, and it also, like if you get hacked or whatever, you might not only lose customer data, but there might be systems and just other data that's destroyed or encrypted or whatever that you can't get back, has to be all, say, manually re-entered. And I think that's when people, CEOs go, oh, we've got insurance for that.
Yes.
And don't worry, we pay $1 million a year insurance. Sweet, no worries, that's all right.
Yeah.
But that's not always a fail-safe measure, is it?
No, nice segue. I'm impressed.
I'm getting better at these.
Yeah, you are. Insurance is something that you really got to be very careful of. And when it comes to business insurance, focusing on the cyber component of your business or the digital component of your business, you really need to read the fine print on the contract. Because if you don't do what they require you to do to protect your organization, then the insurance is not going to pay. Yes. So not only have you lost the money that you paid to get the insurance, but on top of that, you are now in a situation where you have a large number of impactful systems going down that are going to need to be covered in other ways.
Now, I'd imagine that the insurance policy wouldn't be as easy to read as the form of a checklist, as in antivirus, malware, no ticks off and what that. It'd be all in paragraphs and all legal jargon and stuff.
Yep.
Is that something like, say, even like you would offer as a consultant as well, to grab the insurance policy, read it, decipher what it needs, and implement exactly what?
Yeah, exactly right. We do a thing called Buy Me Coffee. Now, it's a little program that we've put together, literally where we sit down and we'll talk to a client. It doesn't matter whether it's the CEO, the IT person, or anything along those lines. We'll find out what their systems are doing, what they are required to do, and then plug in the insurance policy to see whether what they are doing is enough to cover the policy. Most people go, okay, we've got let's say we're an e-commerce site, or we have an e-commerce website. What are you doing about PCISSD?
Something like
that. Literally, what are you doing about your credit cards? How well are you protecting that information? Are you using encrypted information going across the internet? Is the storage of that information on the website being encrypted? All of that sort of stuff really becomes a huge problem, because if your website gets hacked, you haven't got encryption, and you need to have this component of your insurance in place, then sorry, they're not going to play at all.
So I don't know, from your experience, I guess you could draw this from, but so from your experience, so with the insurance policy, how detailed would it go? Like, would it say like your antivirus or malware should be up to date within the last 48 hours, or you should be using a certain antivirus? Does it get that pedantic?
They don't worry about specifics. What they do to use is what we teach at the intensive, quite funnily. What they're interested in is, if you were hacked, could you see it? Have you got those? Have you got the alerts running? Have you got a decent firewall? Have you got policies and procedures in place to protect the information that you're collecting? Have you got information in people? Try again. The information of the people who are accessing that data. What are they doing with it? What can they do with it?
Yes.
If it's in if you have a database of clients who can email the information out, who can print out the information, all of that sort of stuff really becomes a huge component of how you protect your business. Now, you should look at insurance as something that you put a framework around your business, and then you plug the insurance in underneath it and say, well, we know that we've done all this. And when you do the audit to specify the insurance, you know that you're doing it to protect the information, not just to cover the insurance itself.
Yeah, so I guess, like, you know, as a CEO of the company, like you're the buck stops with you. Like,
yes.
So as you were saying with the what was it, British Airways or someone, the buck stops with the CEO of the board. And I guess, like, if you're going to be a bit blasé about it and say, just push it off to the IT department, we probably have to think about, well, what sort of power has the head of IT got within the organisation? Is he empowered to go and ask Jane at the front desk, let me look through your drawers, or let me read your USB keys that you've got there? Like, has he got the power to do this?
Well, yeah, yes and no. It depends on what you put in place.
Well, that's right. Yeah, you've got to charge the person with the power to do it.
That's right. And you've got to have, if you have let's say you have an onboarding process. Now, that onboarding process has a policy that the person who is now joining the company has to sign before they are accepted as getting a paycheck from you. Now, you can turn around in that policy and go, these are the requirements of my requirements of you in your job. Yep. Okay. Now, if I have that and they've signed off on it, they don't have to agree with it, but they have to say that they have read and understood it. Then anything that you do now, putting stuff on a USB stick, for instance, compromises the policy that you put in place, then you have something to go back to. On top of that, by doing that as an organization, you can actually then say that when you're talking to the insurance people, this is the procedure that we go when someone joins the company.
Yeah.
And these are the education processes that we put in place to make sure that people understand that the information that we're collecting is really, really important to not only them, but to us as well.
So I guess, like, when you talk about insurance of your data and all this, you're sort of thinking, well, you know, it's pretty much it's the cost of, say, re-entering a year's worth of financials or something, just in case you've lost all that. But it probably, would it also cover things like, well, it's law, I know, in Australia and probably most of the other countries, that if you have a security breach or data leak, like the Dow Jones has or whatever, that you've got to notify the Privacy Commissioner within like 12 hours or something.
You've got to notify them within 24 hours of discovering the actual system failure. And also, you have to also give them, in that 24 hours, you've got to find out roughly what has happened.
Yeah, and I think then it would proceed down to fines.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Did you hear the Ashley Madison hack that happened in 2014?
Yeah.
Everybody on that database is going to get $38,000.
What?
Yes.
Oh, I should have signed up. Oh, wow.
Yeah. So
what a windfall for them.
The actual process is, it works. It takes a long time, but at least Ashley Madison took the responsibility of, yes, it was our data. Yes, we have a problem with it. Yes, the number of devices out of the whole thing would have been pretty phenomenal. But they've now said that we had 7.5 million records stolen. Each one of those records is going to get $38,000.
Wow, that's insane. Yep. But that's I suppose that's what happens. You know, it was probably pretty embarrassing. So for some of the people.
Yeah. Well, they by doing that, they accepted the blame for the hack as well, because the information was stored in a database. It wasn't encrypted. The thing about encryption and what people forget is, yes, I can be hacked. I can steal, or someone can steal my database. Now, if my information is encrypted at really high levels, 4096, for instance, they can then take that database and they can bang their head against it for the next 10 years. Yeah. And the chances of actually still getting into it is very, very remote. So, yes, I've been compromised. Yes, that information has been stolen, but nobody can use it.
Yeah.
Now, you can now fix the problem that caused that, knowing and understanding that what you have actually let out of your organization is not going to be a big deal. Again, what it also comes down to is a risk analysis of your data, how you do business, I suppose, is probably the best way of looking at it. We had a client recently who moved away from us to another IT person. Now, to me, they had a requirement that everybody in their organization had to access a database that was stored on the server. Yeah. They had 3 subsidiaries. So they had to use a system of VPNs to get into that data to be able to do anything. Okay, fine. It works really well.
Yeah.
When the new IT person to the IT company took over, they said, we are not going to allow you to do that. Now, it is not my responsibility to say to a client, we are not going to allow you to do that. Yeah. It's got absolutely stuff all.
Yeah.
It is their responsibility to analyze the risks and mitigate those risks. A VPN that allowed everybody to access that system kept everything secure, kept everything in knowledge. But if I turn around as an IT person and said, no, you can't do that, then I am compromising your business practices. Never mind anything else.
Yeah.
Now, what are those people who are now away from the organization? How are they going to use that database to actually service his clients?
Yeah.
Now, that is critical.
Oh.
And coming down to the risk analysis of it is really important for the business.
Yeah, yeah. So just quickly, just getting back to that, say the Dow Jones Ashley Madison thing.
Yep.
So is that something? Or say Ashley Madison. So is that something you would expect that there would have been a loophole in the insurance policy? That who's going to pay for that ultimately? Do you think is it insurance or Ashley?
Probably find Ashley Madison will be paying for it. I think you'll find that because of the way that the system was compromised, the insurance wouldn't have paid out anyway. They may have insured the actual revenue that came from the website, which would have been covered.
Right.
But also that would have been pretty flaky as well.
Yeah. So is insurance worth it overall, do you think? Like weighing it all up, or is it too tricky to abide by all the
as
rules?
I said, I think as long as you put a framework around the organization and stipulate how you are going to manage your people, your data, your technology, then getting insurance underneath to cover it, because the bad guys are sneaky. You've got to remember that. It takes... We've seen it in the last couple of years that all it takes is someone within the organization being confused enough to click on a link, to go to a website, to open an attachment. Any of those things can compromise the whole system.
Yeah.
Now, that attack may not have been known. As they say, there's 40,000 new malware components created every day. Now, that's a lot of...
Yeah.
Probably 99.9% of them are, I take that information from that guy's system and I now incorporate it into my system by changing it slightly.
Yeah.
That 0.1%, they're the ones that you really have to be aware of.
And I guess you might be thinking, okay, well, let me look around for an insurance policy that's not so tight. But that's it probably defeats the purpose, really, doesn't it?
That's right.
So you're best to treat the tightness of the policy as friendly rather than as a foe. Because they'll make you get your systems together and sort yourself out.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. So that's good. We might leave that topic there, unless you've got anything else to add to that.
Nope.
Okay. Now, just quickly, the one we want to finish off on. What social signals are you giving the bad guys? So I guess this is, like through your social media, what are you allowing yourself open to, or what are the bad guys interpreting from your posts that will be used against you, I guess, or to infiltrate your systems?
Yes, very true. One of the things we find with social media is everybody is quite happy to wear their life on their sleeve. One of the things about social media is you really need to look at the default settings for the security components of your account, mainly because every time Facebook updates itself, Twitter updates itself, they set everything back to default, which is a huge problem.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
And the other thing is they also play on your humanness as well. If you get in there and change your security settings so that only friends and relations or just people who you're talking to can actually access information on your profile, then Facebook turns around and says, well, if you do that, other people can't see you. Well, that's the whole bloody idea.
That's right.
Yeah, if I want to go out, like for instance, having a business page on Facebook, then yeah, anything that goes onto that page, anybody can see, anybody can do whatever they like with it, anybody can comment about it. But if I post something on my home personal profile, the only people I want to see that information is people I class as friends and family.
Yeah, that's right. So you're saying that you could go to the trouble of, spend an hour setting up all your privacy and who can see what and who can see this and that, and then an update comes through and that all gets back to default.
It gets the major updates, yes. The major updates reset everything back to default.
Without telling anyone?
No, without telling anybody. Most of the time, you don't even know that there's been a major update.
Yeah.
One of the things that we talk about in the intensive is you need to go into your social media profiles at least once a fortnight just to check that they haven't been reset. Right. And also be just very aware of who you're accepting as friends.
Yeah.
Because, I think you probably get it on your Facebook page as well. Someone's been hacked. Don't accept any invitations from me.
Yep.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. Enough said. Yeah. So I think Facebook has got a thing, haven't they? Like view as public or something, yes. Or view as not you or not friend. But yeah, that's interesting. I'm going to have to go and see because I spent a bit of time, privacing everything up a while ago. But yeah, well, yep. I was unaware of that. I'll have to make sure because I do purposely go in and go, okay, I'll send that. I'll let friends watch this or put that out to public. And because some of the things you just don't want stuff going out to whoever.
You don't particularly want your 10-year-old's dance recital of, to be seen by everybody, do you? You just want it to be seen by family and friends.
That's right. Or your nude dance after the Sharks won the grand final.
That's right. So, yeah. Wiggling your ass in public. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, some things can't be said, can't be unseen.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah.
So other things is not just photos and all that, but if you're out and about one night and you just don't post. Oh, I'm having a great time. 2 hours away from home. At the club or whatever. It's a great if people. Robbers or whatever, they look at that. They're probably trawling through Facebook pages. Oh yeah, old love's out. She's at the pokies. Let's go.
Yep, that's right. One of the scenarios we're working on for ADFA at the moment is literally if the combination of social media and real life criminals, how they interact properly, and how like they can work out who's in an area, what information is available when people are going out. And if you tie that in with someone who then is quite willing to go and break a window and do whatever needs to be done, then, you've got it makes you a big target. So it's something you really got to think about.
Yeah, and obviously you're not going to post, oh, look what I just bought today, this super, super extremely rare figurine.
Yeah.
Look,
I just spent $10,000 on a thingy.
Yeah. I'm just going to put it in my windowsill. Look out.
Yeah.
But it's the old routine as well. Like I remember, when you're a kid or when you're growing up, my dad used to say, don't leave your wallet on the front seat of the car and all that. He says, you might as well just write a note and say, break window and take me.
Yeah. Please steal.
Yeah, that's right. And, when you're down the club, you got to write in your name and address before you get in. Well, I never did that. I just wrote the street name, just very vague because people come in. I did know a few unsavoury people, and they went into the clubs. They looked down the list. They knew all the addresses. They go, well, look at everyone here. I've just got, Mr. Things away. He's in the club. Mr. Things in the club. Let's go. And now it's just moved on to social media. So
well, the other one is GPS.
Oh, yes, right, yes.
Yeah, most people literally set up their home address as their home address.
Yes.
So if someone gets into your car, steals your GPS, then they know where you live and where the car is registered and what your home address is.
Guess what?
GPS haven't got security on them.
No, my GPS is like that.
Yeah. Well, phones are another one, Phones have everything, and that's the other thing about. And some of the stuff that we've been doing at ADFA shows how vulnerable the phone, literally the operating system of all phones are.
And just quickly, like before we go, like what's your opinion of the free Wi-Fi on buses and trains and everything? Like, is that what you just got to be absolutely sure what sites you are going to, or you just don't use it?
Just don't use it.
Yeah.
One of the things is what your listeners should actually look up is go onto the internet and do a search for a pineapple.
Right.
which is Pine, capital A, capital P at the end of it. So it's a Pine AP. Now, this is a hacker's access point that does some really scary stuff.
Right.
Now, you know, when you go onto a free Wi-Fi site and they come up with, they say this is the page and you've got to accept everything and they take no responsibility.
Yes.
Well, I can replicate that. And while you're reading that and thinking about doing that, I've just downloaded 27 vulnerabilities onto your whatever device is attaching.
Right.
That is why you don't use free Wi-Fi.
Yeah, we did a story this week on the latest Aussie Tech Heads podcast about there was free Wi-Fi going on to the trams and buses, public transport in Adelaide, and then we had a discussion about, why would you actually use it, because phone data now has become pretty high. You know, you get a fair bit. Why would you use the free stuff? And we're just saying it was just too little, too late sort of thing. Everyone's moved away from that. But yeah, it's interesting to talk to you about the security of it. Yeah, it's no good.
The other thing about I know councils are trying to do this and everything else, but what they're doing is actually exposing the most vulnerable people to being hacked.
Yeah.
Most of the people who are on the streets, for instance, yes, they have a mobile phone, they'll have a SIM card, but they use Wi-Fi for everything. Now, what you're doing is making that free Wi-Fi something that everybody can then target, and it really is easy to target.
Yeah.
Some of the applications in Kali really, really are scary stuff, and they really do some significant damage.
And just quickly, I guess if you got your web pages or something out there, you can get these free SSLs. What's your opinion of those? Are they as good as, say, that the lowest paid SSLs? Are they all right?
To tell you the truth, I've never looked into them. I am a great believer in if it's free, it's dangerous.
Yeah, it's fair enough. Yeah, that's right. Well, no, you don't get nothing for nothing.
Well, that's right. And today's world, if it's free, there's also a chance that it's been put up by someone who is an unsavory person. Not saying they're a criminal or anything along those lines, but it might be a bored 14-year-old that's actually doing whatever they're doing.
But yeah, I just come from the point of view, like I know because I do this web hosting, that there's companies, I think, like reputable companies, like I think one Trustwave or something. They are offering free SSLs.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but then I'm thinking, well, why are they offering the free SSL when, what are they doing? Are they digging a hole for themselves, or why are they doing this? Like,
I don't know. I do know that the SSL is really starting to come into the fore on websites and Google at the moment.
Oh, Google especially.
Yeah, Google is now putting a HTTPS website above anybody who's not at HTTPS, unless the criteria of the algorithm is just a bit slightly different. So if you're doing a search for something, you will always get someone who's actually secured their website with a certificate before you will get someone who isn't.
Right. Yes.
Okay. So they're actually pushing that on people to increase SEO by actually having a certificate.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, and I don't know why the free one. I'll have to look into that. But anyway, that's what happens. Get an SSL on your site and away you go. Because it's not just it's not just that you're not collecting any customer data, but then you might be as you go through the checkout, you might pass it on to PayPal, but there's still some data going across.
Yeah, that's right.
So all right. Well, that brings us to the end of episode 29. So good stuff. Thanks, Roger. Thanks for coming in and letting us know all your secrets, so to speak. All your intellect. Don't forget, if you do listen to this and you're in Canberra before the 24th, go along or ring Roger up or email him and see if there's any tickets left for the Canberra Security Workshop Intensive, and get on his mailing list for Perth if you're in Perth. He'd love to see you there, I'm sure.
Guaranteed.
All right. Okay, thanks, everyone, and hope to be heard next time. All right, bye for now. Ta-da.